Hello again. We are continuing with day 5, sefer Chafetz Chaim. So we just learned yesterday regarding, the Chafetz Chaim concluded yesterday with how since there isn't a one sefer that talks about all the laws of Lashon Hara and Rechilut, they're all scattered around these halachic works, Gemara and everywhere. That's why so many people are transgressing, and it's so common today. So therefore, the Chafetz Chaim continues, "Ve'alkein azarti keneged chalatzai." I therefore gathered my strength, and this literally, this expression comes from Eov, chapter 40, and it literally means I girded my loins like a man. Be'ezrat Hashem yitbarech echonen la'adam dat, with the help of Hashem who grants wisdom to man. Ve'kibtzati et kol dinei lashon hara rechilut el sefer. And I compiled all the laws of lashon hara and rechilut into a single work. Ve'likatati otam mikol hamakomot mefarzerim b'shas v'poskim. I collected these laws from all the places where they are scattered throughout the Talmud and the halachic authorities of Ufchat. Specifically, I gathered these laws. Now the Chafetz Chaim enumerates books where he gathered the laws from. Rambam, from Maimonides. Smag, Sefer Mitzvot Agadol. This is a compilation of all the mitzvot by Rab Moses Yosef of, I don't remember his name. And then V'Rabbeinu V'Sharei Tshuva LeRabbeinu Yonah, and the classic Musar book Sharei Tshuva by Rabbeinu Yonah. For these Gedolim, great sages, opened our eyes regarding the details of this halacha. I also gathered these laws based on what I found in Macharik's responsa. Macharik is Rabbi Yosef Kolin, was a famous rabbi, and his Tshuvot were very famous in changing the way halacha is not paskin, but the derech of halacha today. So the Sharei Tshuvot Eshchlim Le'nei Zeh, another pertinent response. Okay. Now he talks about his sefer, how he divided it. V'chalakti et sefer l'shnei chalakim. I divided the work into two parts. Aleph, Hilchot Isurei Lashon Hara. First, the laws of prohibitions of Lashon Hara. Bet, Hilchot Isurei Rechilut, and B, the laws of prohibitions of Rechilut. Kasher Yizakeni Elyon, when heaven above will grant me the merit, Er'eg b'lei neder, I plan without a vow, L'chaber el elu shnei chelakim od chelek shlishi, and I add yet a third section to these two, asher bo yikabetz, in which will be collected kol ma'amarim aniskarim ma'gemara midrashim ve'zor HaKodesh b'inyan zeh, all the sayings mentioned in the Gemara, Midrash, and Zohar HaKodesh regarding the topic of Lashon Hara. Ki mitoch zeh yuv'ar, that the third section of my work will set forth etzem hasachar be'olam hazeh ve'olam haba, the tremendous reward granted in this world and in the world to come, shelmi shenizchar be'avon zeh, to one who guards himself from the sin, and the great punishment incurred by one who deliberately transgresses it. I don't know, the Chafetz Chaim doesn't say what the name of this part is, but I'm pretty sure it's his Musar book called Shmirat HaLashon. He wrote a separate book, a Musar book, that fits this description. He took all the Ma'amarei Chazal from the Gemara, Midrash, Zohar. I'm pretty sure this is what he's referring to. This third section. V'chalakti et ha'alachot anisker le'eil le'klalim. I divided these laws, right, the laws of Lashon Hara and Rechilut, into chapters. V'chol klal lekama seifim, and each chapter into many branches. Branches, how a tree has branches. Seif literally means a branch. Yeah, so that the reader will be able to read them swiftly. In almost every section, I provided some relevant illustrations to give the reader a better understanding of how to implement these laws on a practical level. Okay, wait. So the Chafetz Chaim, in order to make it easier for the reader, he divided into chapters and then the branches, right, subsections, and throughout his book, he illustrates, provides illustrations of how to implement these laws on a practical level. Okay, so the Chafetz Chaim now says how he called this book. V'karati et shem sefer hazeh bechlalo. I named this general work, Sefer Chafetz Chaim, the book of Chafetz Chaim, Al Shem HaKatuv, right? The general work is regarding Hilchot Lashon Hara and Hilchot Rechilut. And this name of Chafetz Chaim is based on the verse, Mi ha'ish Chafetz Chaim v'chulei. The verse in Tehillim, chapter 34, who is the man who desires life? It's a very famous pasuk, very famous parak of Tehillim. In order that the reader not tire of reading every law with its source, which at times can be exhaustive, I have therefore divided the work into the following two parts. Apnim, the primary inside section, and that contains the succinct law that emerges after the entire matter has been clarified, right? The actual body of halacha. And I called this part the Makor Chaim, which literally means the source of life. I have named it so because a person's faculty of speech emerges from the power of a life-giving soul, the life-giving soul that is within him. As it is written in Breshit chapter 2, and the man became a living spirit. And Onkelos, which is a very famous rabbi who translated the Chumash into Aramaic, his Targum is called Targum Onkelos. He translates these words into Leruach Mimala, as a speaking spirit. He translated the words living spirit into a speaking spirit. The second section of the actual sefer, containing the explanation of these laws, which appears alongside the Makor Chaim section, is called Be'er Mayim Chaim, the well of life giving waters. By the way, there are other books called Be'er Mayim under the name Be'er Mayim Chaim, but this is a commentary sort of on the sefer Chafetz Chaim that Chafetz Chaim himself wrote. Ki hu be'er shedaliti mimeni. This is because of the well from which I drew et makor chaim b'pnimi, the content of the inside section of Makor Chaim. So he pretty much wrote a commentary in his own sefer, explaining the laws and its sources. And it's actually similar if you look at the Mishnah Brura. They have there's the Tziyun Halacha, which is also written by the Chafetz Chaim. It does a similar task of clarifying the halacha and its sources. So the Chafetz Chaim now says, Veida achi hakore, please know, my brother, the reader, she'afilu kol davar pashut shenimtza b'fnim, that even for the obvious matters mentioned in this work, I cited their sources in the Be'er Mayim Chaim, leman yivorer le'anei hakol, so that it should be clear to all, shesefer zeh lo chibarti al pi midat hachesidut, that I did not compose this work based on what is expected for pious conduct, rak al tzad hadin, but rather according to the dictates of normative halacha requirements. So the laws, every law here, even the most simple and obvious laws, the Chafetz Chaim in his Be'er Mayim Chaim cites the source. And the Chafetz Chaim does this to show that everything in his book is not based on, how Hasidim, pious people act. It's actually down to earth halacha. Halacha that every Jew has to follow. And there are pious things that pious people do, but that's not halacha. And the Chafetz Chaim in this book only mentions the halacha. The Chafetz Chaim, so now the Chafetz Chaim, he had an agaha, which is like an addition. He explains there why he deemed it necessary to formate Hilchot Rechilut as a separate section, even though its laws seem to parallel those of Lashon Hara. And before I read there, we have to establish what is Rechilut, Lashon Hara. So Rechilut, I explained earlier, that it means gossip. Gossip is, you hear something from a person. Doesn't have to be necessarily, something bad. Anything that you hear from a person, something private, from their private lives, if you go around and saying that information to other people, who the person didn't want you to tell to, this is gossip. Lashon hara, this is along the same lines, but in this case, it's disparaging. It's information that's would disparage the person who you're talking about. So this is lashon hara, and then there's a third level, and this is called motzei shem ra, and this is where you share not only disparaging information, but it's untrue. So lashon hara, you're sharing information that's true, but in this case, you're sharing information that's false. So the Chafetz Chaim now explains why, since gossip and lashon hara are so similar, why did he divide them into two separate sections? Uve'emet yesh harbe dinim be'ilchot rechilut. In truth, there are many laws in Hilchot Rechilut shenuchal lilmod otam midinei isurei lashon hara, that we can infer from the laws of lashon hara prohibitions. Ach amarti erech arecha laazor od kol din v'din b'pratiyut. I nevertheless deemed it necessary to repeat each and every law explicitly in Hilchot Rechilut. Machmad godeh amishkol amichshol ametsui bazeh achet, because of the magnitude of the obstacle inherent in the sin. Chet alashon arachman alitzlan, the sin of forbidden speech. May Hashem deliver us from this transgression. Ve'ein lismoch b'inyan kazeh ala mayen. Regarding of a matter of this import, I did not want to rely on the person studying these laws, right? The Chafetz Chaim did not want you to just, since it's so obvious, you can just extrapolate the laws on your own. The Chafetz Chaim did not want to rely on this, because the sin of lashon hara is so severe and there are many stumbling blocks. Yes. Kasher yeh tzarich leizer davar lemaaseh, and assume that when he needs to know the practical halachic application laws, halachic applications regarding rechilut, yichpos lelmod davar mitoch davar. He will search for the related halach in the laws of lashon hara and infer how he's required to conduct himself in the matters of rechilut. V'chulei ay v'ulai. For even with all the efforts of a conscientious reader may expend to glean the proper halacha from rechilut, from the laws of lashon hara, it is a mere hope that he will find the proper applications for rechilut, but this is no certain matters, right? It's very much possible to extrapolate laws from Hilchot lashon hara, how to apply it to rechilut, but this is a mere hope, and it's not definite that a person will be able to do so. So I therefore felt compelled to write the laws of rechilut explicitly. Gam shekim'at b'chol inyan v'inyan yesh ezu itchadshut. Further consideration as to why I repeated the laws of Hilchot, rulings of Hilchot Rechilut, is that almost every topic discussed in Hilchot Rechilut, there is a novel idea, asher lo nuchal lelmod ze midinei isurei lashon hara, that cannot be derived from the laws of lashon hara prohibitions. V'kvar amru Chazal v'keyotzi bo bazeh. Indeed, Chazal have already stated in a similar vein in Tractate Menachot 10b, kol parsha shene'emara v'nishneit, any passage of the Torah that was stated and then repeated, lo nishnit ela b'shvil davar shenitchadesh ba, was repeated only for the sake of something new that was taught in it. So too I have decided to repeat all these laws in Hilchot Rechilut for the sake of a few novel ideas that appear there. Okay, so the Chafetz Chaim explained just now his whole, background of his book, how he decided to structure it, where he gets his information from. He will elaborate on this further in the ensuing pages, but that is the end of today. Thank you for listening.